Welcome to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. We created this platform to give you real-life examples that breakthrough is possible for you in your life, wherever you're at right now. These are stories of true testimonies of getting unstuck, okay? So I want you to find the perseverance, the strength, and the proof that it's possible for you through these episodes and through these guests. I want to shout out the sponsor of this platform, the Connected Leaders Academy, an incredible place for breakthrough in my own personal life. The Connected Leaders Academy brings together hundreds of leaders from around the world who collaborate and work together to better each other. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com, or you can search for Jose Escobar on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Today, I bring on the incredible, the powerful, the wonderful Suzanne Taylor-King to the platform. With 35 years of entrepreneurial prowess, Suzanne Taylor-King is a seasoned leader navigating both six-figure businesses and orchestrating multiple seven-figure exits. Armed with diverse certifications and a background in applied science and dentistry, she brings a holistic and strategic approach to redefine success and inspire brilliance in ventures. Suzanne, thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
Oh, Rob Z in the house. Very excited to have this conversation today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Honored that you're here with me and going to share some wisdom and knowledge with us today. I love to open up these episodes with a question. You ask better questions in life, you get better answers that lead to bigger breakthroughs. And I'm just curious, let's go the whole way back in time to you kicking things off, starting your entrepreneur journey. How did you know that it was time for you to start your own business? How did you know it was time for you to take that leap?
Well, there was always a little piece of inventiveness in my behavior. At 11, I had a paper route and I paid other people to do it. So I didn't have to deliver the papers. So that was kind of the start that I had that mindset. But my first business was really an idea. And the idea just wouldn't go away. And I was young and 24 and just had this mentality of, I didn't know what I didn't know. So let's just do it. And it was a big undertaking and really, really rewarding, with many hardships along the way. And ultimately, I walked away from that business at 27 when I got divorced. And the bug was always there to invent, create, and launch a business. And now I've done it multiple times.
Okay, hold on. So let's go back to this whole paper route thing, because that's number one, for somebody to have a paper route is one thing at a young age. My friend had one, and when I stayed overnight at his house, he made me get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and go give out papers with him. Yeah. Which I was always I detested that. Now, if he would have paid me, I might have been more excited to do it. Where did you get even the concept? Is this just like who you are that you thought?
I don't know, but I remember getting in trouble because I did it. And I thought, well, why would I get in trouble for that? I forget what the numbers were, but I had a certain amount of papers to deliver, and maybe I got $3 an hour is sticking in my mind right now. And so I would keep $2 and pay somebody $1 an hour to go and deliver the papers. And I thought it was being genius.
Yeah, that is, I mean, so this is the kind of stuff, it's interesting for me to learn from real, true, from birth entrepreneurs, because I would never have had that thought process. That never would have even occurred to me. Like, holy cow, that's something like I've had to learn over the years, like delegation, putting these things into place. That's incredible that you had that from birth. And so going into your first business, and now you were involved in selling skateboards and snowboards and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Leading into that process, because I want this to be for people who might be wanting to launch their own business. They want to get something off the ground and they want to pull the trigger, but they don't know how to. 'Cause that's the hardest part. I know
Yeah.
for me, for sure, the hardest part is like, okay, I've decided, now I'm going to execute. And once I do it, I'm like, oh, thank goodness I finally did this. But for a lot of people, that's a really hard process. That's the part they get stuck on the most. So for
Yeah.
you, when you jump out, when you decide whether it was that first business or any business after that, is there a time when you know like it's time to do it right now? There's no more time to
Mhm.
wait. How do you
Yeah.
advise somebody to get past that spot?
For me, it's all about the research. And, when an idea comes to me, just had one yesterday. And the idea immediately, I'm going to go and talk to, 10 or 20 of the client I imagine buying that idea. And I'm going to ask questions. And I think most people skip that research part of knowing the market, the ideal client, and where the gaps are in the market. So, for example, in the networking space, I have an amazing connection, and I think you know him, Daniel Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
He teaches something really specific, and it's not networking, it's network building and actually having relationships and getting people to refer business to you. But not referral fees. And it's very precise what he teaches, and it's different. So there's a gap in the market with that knowledge that he shares, and he does it differently. And it kind of kicks off, a little bit of category design, being your own category. And I think that's today's day and age, it's even more important to know what makes you different, to know how you serve different than other people who do what you do, and maybe do it for a different niche of people.
Mm. Yeah, Daniel Andrews is amazing. He's been on the podcast before, and I'm involved in BNI. And what he does is also a lot like kind of what BNI does too. It's all referral based. It's relationship building
Yeah,
and the giver's gain. I'm going to serve somebody else and give them first before I get
yeah,
anything. I might give somebody else something 10, 15 times before I get anything.
mhm,
But you know that you're helping, you know that you're serving, and you're building relationships in that way, and it's so important. Like you said about asking questions too, and this is when before I launched my first business back in 2017. I spent a year and a half preparing myself to do it because I was so apprehensive. I was like, it was almost analysis paralysis, right on the verge
mm,
of it. But I had to know what I was getting myself into,
mhm,
and asking those questions, doing that research gave me the strength, the confidence, the like, okay, I know I can do this. I know
yeah,
it's needed, and I'm ready, and I'm qualified for it. You said about an idea not going away. I
mhm,
think this is really important to touch on because so
mhm,
many people have like a burning idea inside of them that they can't get it out of their head, and they
mhm,
go their whole life without ever like pursuing that idea.
yeah,
when you have when you have an idea that will not go away, and you are stepping into this new world of like, okay, now it's time for me to turn it into a business. Now it's time for me to actually make this something from a hobby to a reality. Is
mm.
there a recommendation from that hobby stage? Because we often hear, if this is a hobby, I don't want to make it my job. I'm going to lose the love and passion that I had for that thing. Do
Oh,
you
I don't
believe
think
that's the
that.
case?
No, not at all, not at
Okay.
all. But I think there's a nuance to it. So, I became a coach through a long, kind of twisted journey, and what I didn't realize is that coaching actually brought together my character strengths of love of learning. I love connecting with other people, and I love perspective. I love creativity. So, all these different strengths that I have and an excess of ideas, I had to get to the point where what's the idea for me, and all the other ideas go in a notebook for other people. And that was a moment that really shifted my coaching,
Mm.
realizing, oh, I don't have to do all of those ideas that are in my head. They can just go in a notebook for later, or they might be for other people. And that was
Mm.
what really kicked off me going from a dental hygienist, doing some consulting for other dental offices to, really stepping out on my own and being a coach.
That's really interesting, right? Having all of these ideas, they don't
Mhm.
have to all be mine. They might
Yeah.
be for somebody else or to help somebody else grow their thing. That's really good.
Mhm.
I feel uh, to piggyback on what you're saying, I constantly have ideas every day, and
Mhm.
it's overwhelming
Yes.
because you can't execute on all of them. And it's
Yeah.
also I don't deal with this as much anymore, but I felt paralyzed at times because I'm like, holy cow,
Mhm.
I could do all these different things. Like 'cause these all seem like good ideas, and they're all
Yeah.
kind of exciting me. What
Mhm.
the heck am I supposed to do? And
Well, I
deciding.
tried. I tried for a long time. I I had an organic essential oil company, and I still have it, and I still sell wholesale to a bunch of people. It's not out there in the public. I just have my private, clients. But what was crazy is I saw a gap in the market. I saw that there wasn't any certified organic public facing companies, but I had a source I could get them from. So I made some phone calls, and people were like, "I want that. I want that. I want that." And so the company was born, and
Hmm.
my assistant takes care of those orders, and it's all done, electronically. I don't have to hold any of the product, which I didn't know anything about that 20 years ago. So, um, when an idea won't go away, I think it's constantly with you all day, every day. It's distracting you. It's keeping you from being present in conversations. It's
Hmm.
waking you up in the middle of the night with like little details that your subconscious is working on while you're sleeping. And when it's that strong, I think you owe it to yourself to at least explore it a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. Do not let the fear of like all the questions of
Yeah.
how get in the way. That
Yeah.
just happened to me, and that's you're connecting with me on a few things you're saying here because that happens to me like this podcast. I
Hmm.
did a podcast for a long time. I stopped for about a year and a half, and every day I would have in my mind like you need to go back to do that podcast. I
Yeah.
spent 20 years in broadcasting.
Yeah.
I love talking to people, and like you're saying, when that idea won't go away, find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And what do you do when the fear comes up, right? Because I think for a lot of, and this is, I'm speaking personal experience, the fear creeps in. Is it going back to like asking those questions, reaching out to people, doing research? What do you do when fear pops up as like a
When
how the heck am I
fear
going to do
pops up
this?
for me now, I just get in service mode and go help somebody, go serve somebody, talk to someone. If there's a gap in my schedule, I fill it with a conversation,
Mm,
whether it's me talking to someone, a connection, helping someone, and that gets me out of rumination, which for me, rumination is fear. That's me not
yeah.
taking action. So, um, but I do know if there's a little bit of fear, like what I came up with yesterday, there's a little bit of, oh my God, that could really be like big, then I know I'm on the right track. Because if it doesn't scare me a little, it's not going to hold my attention. And that's just me. So, knowing myself like that, I know when I smell a little bit of that fear, ooh, that could be big, that could be amazing. It's time for me to go.
Because fear is a signal, right? It's a
Me,
signal
yeah.
of that something's going on, that something's different, something's
Mhm.
exciting. It could be
Yeah,
dangerous, but usually it's also something's exciting.
yeah,
And I should be chasing after this. That's really
absolutely.
good. That's really, really good. So recognize that fear. And I always say it's better to be bored, or better to be busy than bored.
Yeah.
Because when you're bored, that's when you procrastinate. When you're bored, that's when fear can creep in, and you're not being decisive. So you saying that whenever you whenever you're feeling that fear, and you're having that,
Mhm.
which could lead to procrastination, could lead to rumination, go be of service to somebody.
Yeah.
Take action on it immediately.
Take
That's
action on something.
yeah,
You
do
know,
something.
I think when when we get afraid, sometimes it'll either, you know, perfectionism comes up a lot with
Hmm.
people when they're first getting started. Um, I know with a lot of the coaches that I mentor, it's, oh, well, I need the perfect website and the perfect podcast, and then, hundreds of blog articles. And my website has to be like this perfectly oiled SEO lead magnet machine. Well, all of that busy work, plus social media profiles, plus one sheets, plus offers, plus what? You want to have an online course too? That is all before they've ever landed a client. And I think to myself, you got it backwards. Get in service, get some clients by doing this, and all of that other stuff you'll be able to delegate down the road.
Hmm. I've been reading The Prosperous Coach recently,
One
which
of my favorites.
you're preaching it. You're speaking exactly to it.
Yeah,
It's a really, really good book, and it's saying just that. It's like you could be doing all these 8 billion things,
yeah,
but do you have any clients? Are you having really meaningful conversations, and are you serving people?
yeah. Well,
And
are you a coach if you don't have clients? Are
right.
you a consultant if you don't have clients? Are you an insurance salesman if you haven't sold any insurance? My answer is no.
Mm,
So by getting into service, those clients will happen, and that other stuff. My mentor barely is on social media, and she didn't have a website until 5 years ago.
mm. And she was very
She's the
successful
highest paid
without those
female
things.
coach ever.
Wow. Next
Yeah.
to you.
Well, I'm not at $1,000,000 a year yet, so
That's amazing. So
yeah,
it's really good advice, and this isn't just for coaching. This is for any business you're involved in.
truly.
Truly, any business. Go out there and be of service. Ask those questions. Get yourself
Mhm.
busy and not bored in the minutia. Because right now there's so much minutia, so much stuff you can get trapped in. Just I need to do this and that and the other thing, and AI is creating all these different platforms you can be a part of,
Mhm.
which are all amazing. I'm sure they're all beneficial, but you got to choose somewhere and you got to make
Yeah.
that decision. Suzanne, that's really, really good. You were saying about the things that you're about love of learning, connecting, perspective, strengths that led you to be a coach, that led you to
Mhm.
know that this is the right place to be in. I recently was just going over the Why Institute,
Yeah.
y.os, and I
Yeah.
was hearing what you were saying in that. So there's 9 Whys: contribute, trust, make sense, better way, right way, challenge, mastery, clarify, and simplify. And
Mhm.
so I was inspired as you were saying that, like, find what is it that you do. Are you driven by contribution? Are you driven by trust, making sense of things, finding a better way, finding the right way, finding the challenge in things and solving that challenge, mastery, clarifying, simplifying? What would you say is your thing, your driving
I
force?
actually know mine
Oh, cool.
because I have an amazing client who is a conscious leadership coach, and he uses that test. So, um, I am a challenge the status quo
Mm,
first, and then I am a simplify, and I do it through mastery.
I love that. You have it laid out. Is it
Yeah.
written in front of you, or do you just know
No.
that?
No, I just know it. And
That's really
and I
good.
think knowing it, gosh, it makes me show up different because of that. Like,
Yeah.
knowing, uh, I often say to my clients, friends, connections, "Can I challenge you on that?" Or, "I'd like to challenge you with something." And when I found out that that was my why, I was like, "Well, doesn't that make sense that I use that all the
Hmm.
time?" Um, I think it's nicer than asking somebody to do something. I also think it's a little bit bolder, when I'm talking to a client and they're struggling with something, and I say, "Can I challenge you for the next 3 days to reach out to 5 people a day who could be your ideal client and make them an offer?"
Mm,
"Oh, oh. Well, do you accept the challenge or no? Do you wanna stay stuck?"
yeah.
"Okay."
because their breakthroughs on the other end of that.
Yes.
The
Yes.
breakthrough is on the other end of taking that step,
Mhm.
accepting the challenge. And
Yes.
that's and part of being a coach is being the guide, like guiding them into the thing that they're scared to death of, because the answer is always on the other side of that fear. Which,
Mhm.
going back to what you said, that whenever you're feeling in that place, taking that fear and taking some action, being of service,
Mhm.
that is a key component. So
Yeah.
we got to shout out the sponsor, the Connected Leaders Academy, who make this thing possible, an incredible group of leaders. When we come back, though, in 60 seconds, I want to dive into another piece of this conversation with you about Amar Fati, Love Your Fate, and what that means to you. And I cannot wait to learn more about that with you, Suzanne, in 60 seconds.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Okay, so Amar Fati, which stands for Love Your Fate, is
Yeah.
one of your favorite quotes. What does that mean to you, love your fate? Talk about that.
Well, I remember when I first heard it, and it was during my time studying positive psychology that I stumbled upon Stoic philosophy. Sounds like a strange combination, but they're actually really, really connected.
Mm,
And part of being a more positive person is about loving what is. Doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean you don't want it to be different. But if something bad happens to you, instead of playing victim and wallowing in, oh, poor me, look what happened to me,
mm,
you take internal responsibility and you say, how can this be better? How can this be different? Or how am I going to navigate my way through it
mhm,
with grace? And I think this coin, I stumbled upon Ryan Holiday, and he had these coins that you keep in your pocket. And that's the one I ordered for myself to kind of keep in my pocket or my purse as a reminder of that idea of loving what is and making the best of it.
That's so good. My mentor always says there's a blessing in everything if you
Yeah.
look at it the right way. And that's what you're saying with that. Like we're
Mhm.
you're handed things in life. They might seem like they're a freaking disaster. They might seem
Yeah.
like the worst thing in the world for
Yeah.
you. It might be you're like, why am I dealing with this thing over and over again? Well, switch it around. If this thing was given to you as a blessing, like how could
Mhm.
you find the blessing in this, and how could it change everything? Because like we were just saying a minute ago, those biggest fears, those biggest blocks, when you
Mhm.
face them, your biggest breakthrough is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And that's I love talking about in this platform. It's why it's true testimonies of breakthrough. Like you have to face the things that scare the crap out of you, or
Mhm.
that seem like your biggest adversaries, or the
Yeah.
things that are ruining your life. And when you deal with them, you're going to experience the biggest breakthroughs. That's huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it really stood out for me. My very first life coaching client was referred to me, and she hadn't left her house in 8 years. And this was well before COVID. Um, and I went to her house and we had this conversation about what she wanted to accomplish. And when she told me her story and the list of things that had happened to her, I thought, "Well, yeah, that happened to me too. Oh, yeah, that happened to me too." And I went out to my car after that appointment with her and cried tears of gratitude because every time something happened to me that was on her list, I turned right and she turned left.
Mhm.
And what made that happen? We had very similar upbringings. Like it was a vision of what could have happened had I not been resilient and gritty and all the things. And I was so grateful to, one, get to help her, but also to see it from my perspective and say, wow, not to pat myself on the back, but I felt lucky. I felt so grateful
Mhm.
for all the bad things that happened to me and the turns I decided to take.
Hmm. There's an idea that we could be living anybody else's life if we were born in their situation, right?
Mhm,
So somebody that you ended up working with, that you were so close to their situation, yet because of how you, maybe genetics, right? But
mhm.
also just your life experience growing up, that you ended up going on a completely opposite path than her, even though you
Yeah.
had very similar situations. It's fascinating, right? We could be living somebody else's life
Mhm.
very easily. We very easily could be in anybody else's shoes.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we think we're so far away from other people, and we look at somebody like they're an alien because of how they've lived or what they've done, what either good or bad.
Mhm.
But man, we could be there. We could be, and they could be traded with us at the same time.
Yeah.
How did that end up working with her coaching? Did she end up leaving the house?
She did. I found her an awesome therapist who would see her, online and talk to her on the phone because obviously she wasn't leaving the house anytime soon. And a meal prep service and a personal trainer to come to the house, and then someone else to come and organize her house. And it was really rewarding. And it was a long 3-year process for her.
Wow. Amazing. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
that's really cool to hear too, that, as being a coach, you bring in other people to assist in the coaching. You bring in
Oh,
a
I knew I was
therapist.
over my head there. I was like, "Oh, this
Well,
is way more."
I think a lot of coaches would have outsourced, been like, this isn't for me. I got to get
Mhm,
somebody else to do this. But you brought in other experts
mhm.
to help her go through that process. That's really cool.
Yeah. It was a true collaboration, and she felt she had the relationship with me. The trust was here.
Yeah.
So by me saying, "Here's your trainer, here's your meal prep person, here's, the person who's going to help you organize your house." Um, Flash forward, 15 years later, I do that with somebody's business, and they get to borrow the trust that my clients have in me
Mhm.
because I'm bringing in those trusted people to help them with their brand or their podcast or their content, or maybe even a funnel. I have a great agency partner that builds websites and funnels, and I don't have to do or oversee the project. I have a partner that I bring in and help with that.
We get stuck a lot in life thinking that we have to have all the answers
Oh,
for
yeah.
things that are going on. And
Agreed.
it's really such a, I hear from guys a lot also, a lone wolf mentality. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking of this even in just in a relationship sense. They're like, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
need a woman. I'm the lone wolf.
Mhm.
And like life is so opposite of that. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
need each other. Just like
Yeah.
every other animal needs each
Mhm.
other. Like nobody does it on their own. So I just think like it's such an obvious thing.
Yes.
How do you help people get out of their way in that regard, right? Because we can get trapped in that. I know I can get
Mm.
trapped in that. How do you help people get past that lone wolf mentality?
Well, I think it's questions, like, are you achieving I was guilty of not hiring an assistant or not delegating things quick enough or enough. And, it's really looking at not only your calendar, but your list of tasks that you need to do. And can I have somebody help me? It's not weakness to have somebody help you accomplish things, whether you're bartering at first. I recommend that in the beginning, finding people who can help you do things when you're first starting a business that you can trade services with, and testimonials. really huge when you're first getting started.
Mm. That's really good advice. Trading testimonials, and that's a
Mhm.
big piece of the puzzle. So I love talking about life lessons and things that we've gone through. And one of the life lessons you would share with me was the powerful gratitude that helped you to reframe
Mm.
your life. You learned from your mother's passing. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think there's a huge life lesson there that I'd love to hear from you and what you gained from that experience.
Yeah, it was 2004, so it was before I became a coach, and it was my mom's birthday, and I finished work early that day, normally working till 7 p.m., and for some reason got done at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and made the short drive home, which I only lived about a mile from my work at that time, and I decided to call my mom on the phone to say happy birthday. And as we were chatting, I was driving home and her voice changed. And through a series of events on the phone, she ended up having a massive stroke while I was on the phone with her. I navigated getting my dad on the phone, and he navigated getting the ambulance there, all in that short drive to my house. And by the time I walked in my front door, I knew that that was the last time I was going to get to talk to my mom. And I got to say, I love you and I'm here with you. I understand. And, we had a great relationship by that point. And I think it was really, really hard. I had just started dating my husband then, and he came right over and helped me pack a suitcase and buy a flight and all the things. And about 3 months afterwards, I was having a conversation with a friend, and they said, "What made you leave work early that day?" And I said, I don't know, because normally I wouldn't have. But maybe it was a sunny day in March. I'm not sure, but something told me to leave and call, leave and call, leave and call. And I listened to that. And I feel so lucky that I did, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have gotten that last conversation with her. And I wouldn't have been on the phone with her when it happened, to be that comfort, to be that rational voice of no fear, you know? And I just feel truly lucky that I was able to do that.
Mm.
Uh,
As a
no less
Christian,
no less sad that I lost my mom,
well, yeah,
but privileged because of how the universe lined up that day to make sure I got that conversation.
that gave me chills. You telling that story. As a Christian, I got to praise God on that one. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
I I
And
could tell another quick one.
oh, please do it.
Um, in 2010, my son was 1, and we were on vacation. I live in New Jersey. We were on vacation in Myrtle Beach, and I got a phone call that said my dad lived in Florida, and that said, "We haven't seen your dad in a couple days. Would you like me to go by and check on him?" And as soon as I said yes, I left the beach and went back to our condo and started packing. And my husband was like, "Whoa, whoa, wait." Like,
Slow down.
might just be not feeling well and didn't go to coffee in the morning. I'm like, "No, no. If he didn't go to coffee, there's something wrong, and I gotta
Mhm.
go. I gotta go." I just kept saying, "I gotta go." And here's my 1-year-old and my husband on vacation with our friends. I got in the car by myself and drove to Florida. And en route, he was taken to the hospital. And I got there at 2 o'clock in the morning within 1 hour of his passing.
Wow.
And again, it was like one of those moments where God taps you on the shoulder and it's like, you need to go. You need to go. And my husband still to this day is like, you were possessed in that moment. You were packing and going, and nothing I could say was going to change your mind.
Yeah.
And again, reframe to being, I'm so glad I listened to my intuition. I'm so glad that I was strong enough in my convictions to do that. And it was a great gift because I got to talk to him before he passed away.
Oh man. Oh, Suzanne, that's incredible. And
Thank you.
you have to listen to that still small voice speaking to
Yeah.
you. And I think we've all had this situation in our lives where we don't listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel so off when you don't. Like,
Mhm.
I've had that happen so many times. There's so many times where I have, and I've been so
Mhm.
grateful. There's other times when I've been told you need to, well, pray for somebody when something's going
Mhm.
on. You need to tell this person this thing.
Yeah.
And they might just be random things throughout the day that seem like inconsequential, right? That
Mhm.
one those ones you're talking about, those are big. Like that one where you have to leave because you could
Mhm.
have chose not to,
Mhm.
but you wouldn't have felt it wouldn't have sat right with you the whole
Right.
time, right?
Right.
Oh man, that's really good to know.
And I think it also helps you when you start to listen, whether it's, a business idea, whether it's, a program idea or a course idea or
Right.
um, just some calling that you feel. When you start to listen to yourself, you start to trust yourself. That brings clarity. And clarity is the number one high performance habit for a reason.
Hmm.
So just feeling grateful for that.
So and here's a big key to this also. This is my mentor Ray always talks about this, and it's so true. I mean, we have your heart and your head.
Mhm.
Both of them have brains, right?
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
brain has a brain, your heart has a brain. Your mind
Mhm.
is. So oftentimes and the ego, right,
Right.
works out of the mind, works out of the brain. But it's a horrible leader, but a wonderful servant. When you let your heart lead you, that's a wonderful leader. And
Yeah.
then your brain becomes the servant to that.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's gonna guide you in the direction of where you need to go, where you should be, where like you said about fate, like that's where your fate is taking you.
Mhm.
And if you can pay attention to what your heart is telling you,
Yeah.
then you're going to go in the right direction, and your mind, your brain is going to come up behind that and support you in that process. But in society, we're letting so much of our life externally drive us, right? And our ego is connected to our brain, which is the external driver of all this stuff outside of us, is like trying to pull us in a million different directions, which is why we feel so lost and stuck. But when we listen to that still small voice
Mm.
internally inside of us, when we listen to that, that's going to take us in the direction we need to go, and that's going to be we already have all the answers.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
already have the path laid out. We just have to pay attention and listen to it.
And
um,
that requires reflection.
yeah.
That requires quiet.
Yeah.
That requires turning off all of the 60,000 inputs we get every single day from news, TV, social media, all the notifications on the phone, which my phone is blowing up right now, like not paying attention to all that. So you can be present here and here.
Yeah.
And how else do you get clarity on what you actually want?
Yeah. I'm reading a great book right now called Deep Work, and the whole concept in
One
the
of my
book is
favorites.
about that. Is it
You
really?
know me
Okay.
so well.
It's a really, really good book because it's
Yeah.
just disconnecting, and spending time in that deep work is like not
Yes.
having these three screens in front of me trying to get
Yes.
something done.
Yep.
What a powerful conversation. This has been so good. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck movement, Suzanne, because this has been
You're so
just,
welcome.
I do these for me as much as everybody else. I got a lot out of this. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I
It,
I I wanna say every time I talk without a script, without notes or, like a structured talk, every time I have conversations like this, I feel more connected to what I'm doing and my why and why I do what I do. And that's so important to have these conversations. So thank you for doing what you do. As my son says, TFBY, thanks for being you. And I would say to anyone else who wants to, get moving, get unstuck, start talking about it with somebody.
Absolutely. Have that conversation.
Yeah.
So they can find you on LinkedIn, Suzanne Taylor-King. Email Suzanne at taylordwellness.com. Are those the best ways to get a hold of you?
Yep. That's me.
Awesome. Amazing. Suzanne, thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
Thank you so much, Rob.